Hello, procrastinators, and welcome to a Nerd Cubed Ripped Off introduction. I've wanted to do that for a while, and it wasn't very funny. Anyway, this is Kerbal Space Program. I'm going to be showing you my space shuttle, which is fully reusable. It carries cargo, it's got the boosters, it's got a tank. If you want to skip to the launch, I will put an annotation thing on the screen now, and for mobile users, I'll put the time down in the description, so you can quickly jump over there if you want to now. But first of all, I want to mention a couple of things. If you've not played Kerbal Space Program before, it's basically a do-it-yourself rocket simulator, if you like. In this case, we'll also be making a space plane technically. You should absolutely get it. I'll put a link to this description if you like it. A couple of disclaimers before I go any further in the video. I realise the video quality isn't great. I'm recording this on my phone because my computer cannot handle the game and recording software all in one go. Unfortunately, that's the case on my laptop, which is a bit old, but we can just about make it. And I'm recording the audio afterwards as well. The fans on this thing go a bit mental when you start playing games and such, so it's probably better off this way. Also, it means I can concentrate on actually flying the damn thing. Not that it's particularly difficult to fly or anything, but you get the gist of it. Before we go any further, I'm just going to show you how my setup is. I'm using Vita games. Yes, Uncharted is brilliant. Thank you for asking. I've also found another use for that iPad charger, and I'm using a DualShock 4 controller. It works for surprisingly well. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into this thing. Here it is in the VAB. I'm sure you've noticed a few things straight away, like the boosters. There's more boosters than the normal NASA shuttle. This isn't going to be an exact replica or anything. I do have to take some liberties in the case of KSP. Some of the mechanics are a little bit different. A couple of mods in this thing actually. Cargo bay doors, obviously. There's like a base piece at the bottom there, and there's also the doors at the very top as well, which you can quite easily remove. We've got Space Lab 2 inside there as well, which is what we'll be delivering. Space Lab 1 is already in orbit, so we'll be docking the two together. I'll be doing that in the second part of this video. We can get the door back on again. Come on, there we go. And the second bit, there we go. I've set them to an action group as well, so they can open. The second mod isn't technically a mod, I suppose. It's just a regular part, the Mark III to Mark II fuselage adapter. I've added more liquid fuel to it, and I've also added oxidizer. I've had to do this for a number of reasons, particularly because there's no OMS system on this. The OMS system is the orbital maneuvering system. It uses RCS basically to change orbits and such. You can't really replicate that in Kerbal Space Program, so I have to use liquid fuel. We've also got a Mark III cockpit, so we can fit 3 Kerbals in, and we've also got a probe body, so we can fly this thing without any Kerbals in whatsoever. So no untimely deaths for our little green men. Obviously, we've got the delta wing design. With any eagle-eyed viewers may have noticed the turbojet engines down there. Obviously, the real shuttles don't have that kind of thing, but this is incredibly useful in this particular case because it's very difficult to get the landing timing just right using the maneuver nodes. Because as soon as you hit the atmosphere, obviously your periap starts dropping, so it's very difficult to get it just right. So these come in very handy. And we've also got these 2 rockets. I realise there's a third one in the middle there as well. I realise these rockets are actually not exactly the same. The real shuttle has 1 angled out and 2 down at the bottom. Obviously, the rockets in this aren't quite as powerful as the SSMEs on the real shuttle, so I've had to make a couple of adjustments there, that's all. You can see the 3 pairs of boosters that we've got. These are all liquid fuel boosters. Unfortunately, the solid rocket boosters aren't quite as powerful as they perhaps should be compared to the real NASA shuttle, and they don't last long anywhere near enough. We've also got a mainsail on the external tank there. Each of these boosters has separatrons on it as well to push them away from the main tank once the jettison, just so they don't crash into the wings of the orbiter really. We've also got parachutes on the top of each booster too. Oh, you may have noticed a little white radial engine at the bottom there. You'll see that in action later. There's a good reason for that being there. Mostly for balance actually, and you'll also notice the small orange Rockomax engines at the top and bottom of the tank. Those are also for balancing. Reason being that you can have various different weights of payload in this thing, so it's very important once the fuel tank starts getting empty that you maintain stability. So using those sometimes is necessary because of the shifting centre of mass. You can see our action groups there. Custom Free uses that little radial engine. You'll see that in action later. There's also 4 as well, which is basically the OMS system. Anyway, let's get this thing flying, shall we? Let's set our target, Space Lab 1. Let's line this up so we're not messing about later. A good eye on our Apple apps later. I'm having to use the keyboard and trackpad on this, I'm afraid, so you will see my hands a few times during the course of this video. Time warp a bit fast there, just trying to time warp around into the daytime so you can see the shuttle a bit better as we lift off. A tip for docking with something in orbit is you want to get the thing that you want to dock with roughly over there's like, you'll see it in a moment, there you go, the desert peninsula just there where the mouse pointer is now. You want the thing you're docking with to be roughly there. That's generally a good spot to have it, that way you're not messing about, you know, changing orbits dramatically, really, to try and catch up with it. Just do a quick save there, it always freezes the game when we do a quick save. As you can see, we've got our 3 Kerbals in there, our pilot, our commander and our navigator. We've also got another one inside the command pod inside Space Lab itself as well. Theoretically, you could carry quite a few more Kerbals on this thing as well, just by putting extra Mark 1 command pods inside the cargo bay. So it's very useful for docking as well, because there is a docking port inside there. And we're off very slowly to begin with at full throttle, but that's not a problem whatsoever. The individual boosters on these actually just about carry enough thrust to lift themselves, so they're not really contributing thrust to the actual, you know, the whole launch stack really. Basically, they're basically set up for asparagus staging, which is a bit cheaty, but we have to make do with what we've got in Kerbal Space Program, unfortunately. Okay, we're starting to make some good progress, starting to turn over a little bit. Obviously those rockets and the shuttle angled out a little bit force the shuttle to fly a little bit wonky. That's just like the real thing, really. Obviously there's no roll program in this particular shuttle either. The shuttle's already aligned eastwards, so it'll be turning over on its back, heading east. Nice view of the ocean. I'm sorry about the frame rate on this thing, it's not great on this computer, but it will get better as we get progressively higher. It's not too bad at the moment actually, you can just see lines running down the screen, but not to worry. We are just about ready to ditch our first pair of boosters. Nice view of the Space Center. There they go, and they're off. They have parachutes attached, but they don't seem to do much of a good job, unfortunately. Not that the boosters are reusable anyway. I mean, technically I suppose they would be, but it's no big deal in Kerbal Space Program. We can easily build more, can't we? Making good progress so far. It's worth noting actually with the cargo bay mod, I did try out a few different cargo bays actually, but unfortunately none of them seem to be that great. I mean, I just wanted something quick and simple basically, and this one seemed to do the job. With this case, I did have to modify some of the files in order for it to work with the more recent versions of KSP. For some reason, this cargo bay is quite old actually, and it requires a little bit of editing in the text editor, but it's not too difficult. Let's put the lights on there so you can actually see it. I did try the B9 aerospace pack, but I wasn't too keen on the fact that many of the fuselage sizes were really big. I just wanted something, you know, a moderate size, really, something to carry a decent payload, not necessarily something massive. Obviously, the bigger the payload, the heavier it is, and progressively it becomes more difficult to get it into orbit. There goes our next pair of boosters. Yep, parachute's definitely not working there. I did throttle down a little bit before as well, actually, just to prevent that mainsail from overheating because it's on the bottom of that jumbo tank. I suppose I could have put the X232 tank, the little white one at the top, on the bottom, but never mind. I wasn't really thinking that through when I was designing this thing. There was also another little slight issue with this as well. There's a couple of fuel tanks on the top at the very back of the shuttle where those angled rockets are. One of them empties, the other one does not for some reason. I've not yet figured out why. It might be something to do with symmetry not quite working properly, but I'll have to fix that another time. It does fly relatively well though, even though we've got that problem. This thing is actually remarkably stable, it's got plenty of struts on it, of course, but the actual flying this thing is actually pretty good. It's only in the very late stages when the external tank gets empty that we really start having difficulty, which is why I've got that white radial engine on the opposite side of the tank as well, just to give it a bit more stability. There goes our final pair of boosters. Looking good so far. Of course, I'm having to use a mainsail as well on this thing, but just because there's nothing else comparable really in terms of thrust. The SSMEs on the real NASA Space Shuttle are actually remarkably powerful for their size. Really, there's no real equivalent in Kerbal Space Program, unfortunately. So I'm having to use that mainsail just to keep our thrust up, basically. Okay, just coming up to 12,000 meters. Still making good progress, really. The cargo in this particular shuttle, Space Lab 2, isn't particularly heavy, so we'll have no difficulty getting into orbit with this particular one. Space Lab 1 was a little bit difficult because it carries a fair amount of fuel, but it's no real problem, really. You can quite easily make a 100-kilometre circularised orbit with this thing, with a fair bit of cargo. I do need to test the maximum limit for the how much cargo we can actually carry, weight-wise. But that's something for the next challenge, perhaps. I will be doing a part 2 to this video as well, which will include the docking and landing. For now, this is just taking off, basically, and just showing you the shuttle. There is an abort procedure programmed into this, which is one of the few ships I've actually managed to do it for. I've actually remembered to do it for, actually. All it does really is just detach the orbiter from the tank. No big deal. We can quite easily detach and turn around and land this thing. It's not particularly difficult to fly, really, especially with those jet engines. The only trouble is aborting now means it's actually remarkably heavy, so it's really difficult to fly. But it's more difficult than most of the aircraft that you could probably build in this thing, but it's not that difficult, really. I mean, obviously the delta wing design means it's a little more difficult than most aircraft because there's nothing at the front to stabilise it. That's why we have those canards on the external tank as well. We do have a lot of reaction wheels as well at the top of the external tank, but that's not necessarily to keep the thing from... it's more or less to keep the thing stable rather than to keep it pointed in the right direction. Okay, we can actually see Space Lab on the screen then. As it starts to approach, it's gonna fly right past us at this rate. Just change the orbit node there. Switches to target mode, but just change it back to orbit. You can see one of my other space stations there. It's actually broken up a little bit, unfortunately. There's two large solar arrays, one at each end, and for some reason, when I last went to go and check it out, I just having a look at the station really because I've not seen it for a while, and it's a huge lag fest on this computer. But for some reason, two of the solar arrays have broken off, so I don't think I'll be visiting that anytime soon. Okay, so we're just about reaching the desired orbit now. We're not doing too bad at all, we've got plenty of fuel left. I'll be ditching the external tank shortly before we fully circularise our orbit, just like the real shuttle as well. There's just enough fuel in the real shuttle, in this shuttle, just to finish circularising the orbit, and you still got a bit of fuel left for manoeuvres and obviously deorbiting as well. Turning right the way over because we're about to go past it. Oh, yeah, it's already gone past it, never mind. In a case with the shuttle, I want to just get it up to an orbit basically, and then we'll worry about catching up with Space Lab later. Okay, so I've activated that third action group now. You can see the mainsail has switched off. We've just got that central rocket on the shuttle itself, and we've got that radial rocket at the bottom. This is more or less to conserve a bit of fuel, but it's also to provide stability, seeing as the external tank is almost empty now. It will start to pitch a little bit wonky, just because of the extra thrust out of the shuttle and because of the weight at the bottom, but it's no real problem, to be honest. Just makes it a bit more stable this way. We also have our fourth action group as well, which I mentioned was basically a replacement for the real shuttle's OMS system, which the real shuttle uses RCS thrusters, basically very powerful RCS thrusters, in fact, to change orbits and move around in space. Basically, there is no real equivalent in Kerbal Space Program. I mean, you could probably stick a ton of linear RCS ports on the back end there, but it wouldn't be much good because the RCS fuel run out pretty quickly. We do have a fair bit of RCS on board this, but the closest I could come to the OMS system was just using regular liquid fuel, hence why I needed to modify that Mark III to Mark II adapter so that it can carry extra fuel. There's the action group 4 itself just uses the central rocket on the shuttle, and there are two smaller Rockomax, those little orange radial ones. I think they're called Rockomax 24S or something like that, aren't they? I forget the name exactly, but there's two of those. You can just about see it attached to the little tank on the top of the shuttle, one on each side. Activated the solar panels and the antenna array as well there. This thing could stay in orbit for quite some time with them solar panels. It's very useful. Okay, so we are just circularizing our orbit now. We're not far away. Let's just time off a little bit closer to that apoapse so we can get a more efficient burn. We are almost out of fuel in that external tank now. You can see it's starting to get a little bit wobbly. Yeah, it's starting to pitch up a bit there. We've got RCS on now to try and compensate for that. Let's keep that SAS on the too. Yeah, it's pitching all over the place. We're definitely almost out of fuel in that now. Just keep checking that map view, see how close we are. We're a fair bit off, yeah, just keep burning like this. Orbital velocity is roughly 2,250 meters per second, thereabouts, so we're not far away yet. Not too far anyway. Yeah, that tank's running out now. SAS is having a bit of a hard time keeping us steady. Oh, and there goes the camera, and that means we are officially have a periapse. Yes, very good. Time to ditch this external tank. I'm just going to swap some fuel over into that empty tank on the top. It's that one, isn't it? Yeah, that's the one. The other tank is actually full of fuel, still completely full. And the tanks on board the shuttle obviously are still full. There is another smaller tank inside the cargo bay as well. That's mainly just for deorbiting really, but it's also got the docking port on the top of it as well for docking with space stations and other spacecraft. Okay, just transferring this fuel over. Still a little bit left, we'll probably eat the rest of that up. A little scrap of fuel in space will count in this case. I'll have to do a fair few manoeuvres in docking to try and catch up with Space Lab. Like I said, I'll be doing a part 2 of this where I'll be doing the actual docking, and I'll be doing the landing of the shuttle as well. So I'll try and get that video out as soon as I can. Okay, we have officially detached. It's time to move away from that tank. There's actually a probe body on the tank as well, so strictly speaking, it won't become debris immediately, but it'll fall into the atmosphere eventually. I have considered putting some batteries on it as well, actually, so I could leave a little bit of fuel in it, like it currently has a very small amount, turn it round, and then deorbit it properly, because at the moment our periaps was about 28 kilometers, if I remember rightly, and that's not great, really, because it may not burn up. In fact, it'll probably just skip through the atmosphere and then come back round again, and then it'll probably land and crash. Okay, let's just set up a little maneuver node here. Normally I wouldn't do this, but I just want to make sure we get quite a precise orbit without messing about too much. We've already gone a bit too high. Yeah, see, we want to get a bit lower than that. There we are. That's just about good enough. Turn around just so we can get onto our target. Don't really need to use the RCS actually. Reaction wheel should be more than enough. There aren't any other reaction wheels on this, it's literally just the command pod and the probe body at the front as well. Just time warp so we get a bit closer to our apoaps and our maneuver node. Goodbye external tank, you have served us well. It's still well lit up from our lights on the under the wheels. Action group 4 is already enabled. As you can see, there's 3 engines enabled on the staging on the left. It's our OMS system, which you'll see now. Kerbals look happy. Doing a little dance there. Yeah, a little dance. Oh, that's lovely. In space. Nothing better than being in space. Okay, here we go. Maneuver time. Can't quite see the exhaust there, can you? You can just about make it from the little orange radial engines there, just to make a difference, as well as that central rocket. And it's just gone a bit wonky there, just turn that a little bit. Scrap that little bit of delta V. That's just about okay. Okie dokie. Just a little bit more. There we go. That's beautiful. And that's a lovely stable orbit. That will do. And we can do our docking later. Excellent. That's good enough for us. Okay, so that's just about it for this video. I'll be doing a part 2 very soon, where I'll be doing docking with the Space Lab and I'll be doing landing the Space Shuttle, so stay tuned. I hope to see you soon in the next video. And as well, if you like the video, please hit the like button. That's just about all else I can say. So, ta-ra.